In this video, we'll be looking at section 5.4, the distributive property. So first we'll begin by having our essential question, which is pretty simple. How do I distribute? How do I distribute? So first we'll need a definition or a process for distributive property. And the distributive property is where we multiply what is on the outside of the parentheses by everything inside. So we're going to multiply whatever's on the outside of the parentheses by everything inside the parentheses. So let me show you some examples, see if we can make some sense of this. The first one's pretty straightforward. I'm going to take this 4. Then I like to draw these rainbows to kind of help me see what I'm multiplying by. So I'm doing 4 times a, and then 4 times 13. So 4 times a will be 4a, and then 4 times 13, well, let's do it. 13 times 4. 4 times 3 is 12, carry a 1. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5, so plus 52, and we're done. Now with number 2, I have subtraction on the inside. So I really want to still use my integer rules because it'll help us keep this multiplication idea straight. So first thing I want to do is change some stuff. So when I look at this, if that's subtraction, I can do my keep, change, change. So I can go 3 plus negative 2x, like that. So if we do our keep, change, change, we will be able to we'll be able to see that multiplication when it's time to multiply positive and negatives together. So I have 5 times 3, that's going to be 15. And then I do 5 times negative 2. And a 5 times a negative 2 will be plus negative 10x, like that. So we did 5 times 3 to get 15, and then 5 times negative 2 was negative 10. So we have negative 10x. So I'm going to skip 3, skip 4, because we already have examples like that. Let's look at an example similar to number 5. So now what's tricky about this one is I have a negative on the outside, and we have subtraction on the inside. So first thing I want to do is I want to keep everything on the outside the same, and then we'll do our keep, change, change, on the inside. So I have 3y plus negative 4, like that. Now what am I distributing? Well, I'm not distributing just 5 anymore, because it's a negative 5 on the outside. So I'm distributing the whole negative 5. So negative 5 times 3y. A negative times a positive will be a negative, so it's negative 15y. Bring down our plus sign. And then I'm going to do negative 5 times negative 4. That's going to be a positive 20, so I can just write 20. And then we're done with this problem. So negative 15y plus 20. Now, I do want to show you number 6. It's pretty straightforward, but it's the same exact idea. It's just the numbers on the back side. So when that happens, what we'll do is we'll just distribute whatever is on the outside, following our rules, multiply what is on the outside of the parentheses by everything on the inside. So we'll just take that 5, and we can just work it backwards. So we could have 5 times x is 5x, and then 5 times 2x would be plus 10x. just like that. So that one's pretty straightforward. Okay, so we already have so let's look at our examples. We have an example with a positive on the outside and just some addition. We had an example with a positive on the outside, and we had to change subtraction to addition, do our keep, change on those inside the parentheses. So we have an example like that. Now we have an example with a negative on the outside and our keep, change. So now we got a good example of that. So we don't need another one of those examples, so we'll cross out number 7. But we do need an example like number 8, because number 8 is kind of weird. Now, whenever there is a negative in front of our parentheses, what we want to write in to help us know what to distribute is this hidden 1. So now we have a negative 1 we're distributing. So let's make a note of that. We have right here an invisible 1. Right there that we write in. So when I write that in, it really helps me see what number it is I'm distributing. So I'm going to distribute a negative 1. Okay, but before I distribute that negative 1, I want to do anything where I have a subtraction. We're going to do our change, subtraction, to addition. Whatever's following becomes its opposite. So let's look at that, and we'll do. So I have my negative 1 out front. Bring that down. Then I have my parentheses. 2x squared, we're going to keep, change, and plus 7 is going to stay plus 7. There we go. So we wrote in our hidden 1. So we have a negative 1 we're distributing, and we did our keep, changing subtraction to addition, and our opposite of the term following the subtraction. So let's do our distribution. I'm going to use blue for this. So I'm distributing a negative 1 to all 3 terms. I have to distribute, like our rule says, whatever is on the outside of the parentheses by everything on the inside. So it's important that we get this idea of everything. So if there's 3 terms on the inside, I'm going to have to distribute the negative 1 to all 3 terms. So when we're doing this, we do not apply, I repeat this, we do not apply this exponent to that 2. This exponent is only attached to the x, so it's just going to stay like that. We do multiply the negative 1 times the coefficient. So negative 1 times a positive 2 will be a negative 2. And then we're just going to leave this x squared just like that. We're going to leave that alone. Now, I'll bring my plus sign down. Plus sign comes down. Negative 1 times a negative 3. It's going to be a positive 3x. And then a negative 1 times a positive 7 is going to be a negative 7. So we can write it like that. And we're done with this problem. It needs to look exactly like this. So we have 5 examples that we looked at. And the trickiest ones of all were going to be our this one right here, when we have to write in our invisible 1, and any time that we have to change subtraction to that keep, change. That is what is going to be some tricky ones. So let's do a couple. So I'd like you to practice a couple on your own. Remember, refer to these examples and help in case you need some help. So I will give you some examples to try. Let's try number 10. We'll cross out number 9. I'd like you to also try number 11. And we don't need number 6. Number 12. Please try number 13. And number 14. So please try these 4. And number 15. And we'll cross out 16. So let's try these 5 on your own, please. Remember that we're distributing negatives, and we want to do keep, change when it's subtraction. Okay, so hopefully we tried these on our own. On our first one, number 10, we're distributing a 5. So I'm distributing 5 to the negative 2x and a 5 to positive 9. Positive times a negative is negative 10x. And then 5 times 9 will be plus 45. So there's number 10. Now number 11, I have to distribute a negative 2. And we need to do our keep, change. So I have negative 2 times 4x plus negative 7. Now we're ready to distribute. So I have negative 2 times 4x. That's going to be a negative 8x. Then I have a negative 2 times a negative 7. So bring down our plus sign, and negative 2 times negative 7 is a positive 14. Okay, number 13 is a little tricky because we have our fractions coming into play. So let's look at it. I'm going to need some more room, so I'm going to do number 13 kind of here in the middle. So we have 1/4 times 12 minus 4x. First thing I want to do is do my keep, change. So I have 1/4 times 12 plus negative 4x. Now let's multiply these together, and I will have 1/4 times, well, if this is a whole number, we'll need those hidden ones to help us do this, so it's 12 over 1 plus 1/4 times negative 4 over 1x, like that. Now let's simplify. 1 times 12 is 12 over 4 plus 1 times negative 4 is negative 4 over 4x. Clean everything up. 12 divided by 4 is 3 plus negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1x. Since we have it following the plus sign, we'll put parentheses around that one. So we get 3 plus negative 1x. Now early on, we are going to do a lot of writing. I like you guys to write a lot more early on, and then as we get better, we'll be able to write less. But the more we write, the less we get wrong, so please try to write more. Okay, number 14. There's no number in front of it. Remember, when we had just a negative sign, we could write in that invisible 1. Write that invisible 1 in, and it helps us know what we're distributing. So I'm really going to distribute this negative 1 to the 5 and to the 7. So let's do that. Negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. Bringing down our plus sign. And then negative 1 times 7 would be a negative 7x. Like that. Now I had to do one more, and I really want to do this one so we could see that when we distribute this negative 9, we have to distribute it 1 time, 2 times, and 3 times. And hopefully you remember from when we did this number 8 example that the square does not affect the 2. So the square is not affecting the 5. We're just going to leave it attached to that x, and we're not going to really even use it. It's just attached to the x only. So the first things we'll want to do is change any subtraction to addition using our keep, change. So let's do that. I have negative 9 parentheses 5x squared. So here's my keep, change, and then bring down the plus 7. Now we're ready to distribute our negative 9. So I'm distributing negative 9 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now let's do it. Negative 9 times a positive 5. Negative times a positive is a negative 45. If we're not touching that squared on the x, it's just coming down for the ride. X squared. There we go. Done with that one. Let's bring our plus sign down. Negative 9 times a negative 2. Negative times a negative is a positive, and then we have 18x. Then we have one more. Let's bring our plus sign down, and we have negative 9 times a positive 7. So it's going to be a negative times a positive is negative. And then 9 times 7 is 63. And we are done with that problem. So this is our notes on the distributive property. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great evening.